Are the Giants completely done? The fate of Bob Melvin and the farm system moving in the right direction. This all coming up next on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the Giants in a way that combines passion and analytics with the eye test and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area. I also host a show in Sacramento, Sacktown Sports 1140, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Check that out, as well as emceeing at Sacramento River Cats games. And I'm lucky enough to cover a team that I've been a fan of all my life. It's time to break down whether or not it is truly over for the Giants, the fate of Bob Melvin, and the farm system moving in the right direction. This episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Here's the question. It's a very simple one. Is it truly over for the Giants? Well, first things first, the reason it isn't is because the Mets are truly imploding. Okay, they lost last night. The Giants got a half game back. And because of that, okay, you are still in the conversation. The way I see it is like this. You basically have to sweep the Rays. I could be talked into just winning the series. But, I mean, it is the time. They cannot lose this series because of what they have coming up. If they can keep their heads above water against the Padres, the Brewers, and the Cubs and take care of business against the lesser teams, it's not completely cooked yet. I know people are probably saying, Alan, just let it go. I'm not letting it go yet. I'm not letting it go until it's truly over. If they lose a series to the Rays, I think it's truly over. And if they just get destroyed by the Brewers and the Cubs, and they got the Padres again as well, then it is truly over. But it is not. As of today, it ain't over yet. The Giants still have a chance. This is also, and by the way, it's been a pretty tough week. So I'm going to take an optimistic outlook today for as long as I can, because I don't know how much longer we have left to do that. And technically, the Giants are still in it, all right? It's slim, but they're still in it. This is also something that's interesting, and I'm going to hopefully convince some people and make you feel a little bit better going into the Rays series. This is also pretty interesting. The Giants have the 23rd toughest remaining schedule left, according to Tankathon. So if you say that in a different way, they have the 8th easiest schedule left in the league. It gets even more interesting. Here are the teams that they're battling with and where they fall as far as strength of schedule, according to Tankathon.com. The Reds have the toughest remaining schedule. The Cardinals have the 7th toughest remaining schedule, and the Diamondbacks have the 6th toughest remaining schedule. The only team that's even close to the Giants is the Marlins, and they're at 22nd. So the Giants still have an easier schedule than the Marlins, but they're basically right there together. So everyone that they're battling, besides the Marlins, have a significantly harder schedule than them. And on top of that, they have 6 more games against the Cardinals, and they have 6 more games against the Diamondbacks. So it's all in front of them. You could argue that you don't control your own destiny, but technically all these teams do if they just win a bunch of games, right? All you got to do is get hot, similar to how hot you were at the beginning of the season. Again, it's slim, but it's a Friday. I want people to feel a little bit better about the situation for as long as we can until first pitch. So I'm trying here. All right. Here's the thing, to keep it realistic. The Giants do have 7 more games against the Dodgers as well. But hey, the Dodgers have been struggling, so you really never know. It's probably over. I'm having some fun. It's probably over, but there's still a shot. Last season, the Mets got in with 89 wins. The Giants are at 59 right now. So that's basically 30-11. That's what it is. A couple years ago, the Diamondbacks and the Marlins got in with 84 wins. So will it happen? It's going to be tough, but it is not over quite yet. It all starts with the Rays. You have to take care of the Rays. And speaking of the Rays, they're pretty much in the same boat as the Giants. They're 5.5 games back of the last wildcard spot in the AL. So they're probably thinking the same thing, most likely, without a doubt they are. I know it's been tough on y'all. And I want to thank you for rocking with me this week as we got started. It's been a lot of fun this week, getting to meet people, talking to you on social media at @the_Styles with an I. All the comments, by the way, I see all the comments on the YouTube. I just want to say thank you. I can't respond to all of them because then I would feel bad about not responding to some of them. But everybody that had things to say, I appreciate you. So it's been a brutal week to kick off my tenure here and my time here. So I wanted to start the show off with some positive notes and possibly leave the door cracked open for the Giants to slide on in. So it's the final nail in the coffin. If they don't win this series against the Rays, I really think that you have to sweep the Rays, but I understand that that's going to be really hard to do. At some point, you're going to have to make up the time you've lost. Like I said, 30-11, that gets you to 89 wins, which would be ridiculous. Even if you get to, you never know what's going to happen with the other wild card teams. Like I said, they all have tough roads ahead. So if you can get to that 85 range, which might feel a little bit more realistic on you, if you're listening right now in your car, you're watching on YouTube, however you're listening on all the different podcast platforms, maybe that sounds a little bit more realistic if you drop it down to 86 or 85 or maybe even 87, something like that. But the reality is they got to take care of business against the Rays. There's no if and buts about it. If they do not beat the Rays, if they don't win this series, then I'll stop. I will stop if they don't beat the Rays. So obviously they take on the Rays today, 7:15. It is what it is. Then they'll have them on Saturday, tomorrow, and of course on Sunday. After that, you got 4 games against the Padres. Okay, 4 games against the Padres. I don't love it. Don't love it at all, especially after what we just watched. The Giants just got swept by the Padres in embarrassing fashion. And the Padres, they're battling out with the Dodgers as well. So you get 4 against the Padres, then you get 3 against the Brewers. All of that is on the road. Next 7 games after this Rays series on the road. Then you will have the Chicago Cubs come to town. Then the Orioles come to town. Then you go to Colorado. So we don't even really need to look that far because the reality is this season is going to either boom or bust and continue, or, hey, it's time to just talk about 2026 within the next 10 games. That's pretty much it. What you do against the Rays, what you do against the Padres, and what you do against the Brewers. That's pretty much it. Can you keep your head above water in those situations? Let's get to the next segment, and that is the fate of Bob Melvin. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. One time I remember I sank a putt on the 18th hole and the other groups in front of me had already finished. They all cheered thinking it was a birdie or a par. It was definitely a bogey, but I still had a good time and made me feel like the man. Golf is all about those types of good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, that's a lot, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. The fate of Bob Melvin. It's been talked about time and time again on this show, on other shows, I'm sure. Everyone in columns, we're going to talk about one in a second here. The fate of Bob Melvin and whether or not he will make it through this season. So it seems like Bob Melvin will be here at least through the end of the season. And that makes sense to me based on what Buster Posey is trying to build and instill in the organization and the foundation that he is trying to build up. What's interesting is what happens if they get hot the last, let's say, 20 games, right? Not even this stretch, but the last 20 games, they get hot once they're officially out of it. And there's a feeling of, hey, we had some good momentum, right? Hey, if a couple different things break here or there, Bob hasn't lost the locker room. Clearly, this roster just needs to be tweaked a little bit. They're having a good time now. It reminds me of the beginning of the season, things like that. Now, just because I wasn't thrilled with the Bob Melvin hire, as I've said on this show multiple times, I ultimately just want the team to win games. So if he finds something or they right the ship, what are you going to do? Right? I also am just not sure what's going to happen in general. So if he did go on that stretch, he probably would earn the right to coach out that option that they picked up for really no apparent reason, but everybody says it's not that big of a deal anyway, right? This is what Ann Killian had to say for SF Chronicle. Change could be coming, but it almost certainly wouldn't be until the offseason. A late season managerial change would be shocking, especially after the Giants picked up Melvin's extension just 6 weeks ago. At the time, Giants president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, cited Melvin's leadership and preparation and connections with, quote, our players as the reason he believed Melvin was, quote, the right person to continue guiding this team forward. Posey is a pragmatic and methodical person. As a former elite player, he must be, first and foremost, incredibly frustrated with how poorly his players are executing. He would not want to scapegoat Melvin for the failure of the players. When Posey's predecessor, Farhan Zaidi, fired manager Gabe Kapler with just a few games left in the 2023 season, it came off as a move by Zaidi to save his own job. Posey isn't in jeopardy as far as his job is concerned. Okay, so Ann Killian is saying it ain't happening during the regular season or during the season, because if they get to the postseason, it's definitely not happening. But that's what Ann Killian is saying. Like I said, I think what's tough about the hot streak, if it happens, is after it's over, that would probably be the most annoying thing to the fans, because it would lend itself to the idea that the Giants this whole time, as they're just tricking off their situation and messing up games and messing up their positioning for the wild card, it was just a lack of focus, right? So do I think it would save his job? I think it would if they even if they're out of it, if they have a good end of the season, 20 games, I think it would, since they already have that option. I'm not sure it should, but I think it would. In general, in sports, the lame duck situation as far as coaches, that's not something that you see a ton, but it does happen. So they could make a decision and say, hey, let's pick up. We already picked up his option. Let's see what happens in 2026. Buster's going to go out. He's going to go get a right fielder. He's going to go get a second baseman, fill some of those holes that we've talked about. And then after that, right, we can be assessing the whole time in the summer, obviously at the beginning of the season, leading into the end of the season. And we make a decision. Are we going to extend Bob again, or are we going to just move in a different direction? That's kind of what I think this thing is going to come down to, unless it gets really bad. And it's very clear that the Giants and Bob Melvin, there's just something not working. But I have a weird feeling that this is going to annoy all of us. and they might even bring up some guys. Maybe Bryce Eldridge goes off for them, or Drew Gilbert feels more comfortable, whoever they bring up. After they're out of the race, everybody's going to be a little looser. Everybody's going to be feeling a bit more comfortable. All of their shoulders are just going to relax a little bit. They're going to mess around, go, I don't know, 14-6 their last 20 games, maybe better than that, maybe a little worse, 13-7. And the Giants are going to probably say, hey, there's still something here. This roster is a work in progress. We had to make some of these moves because of what was left for us. Buster is still getting into the fold. Bob is kind of still getting into the fold as well. Let's see what he can do with 1 year. It's my job. I'm Buster Posey now. It's my job to go out there, make sure that there are less revolving doors. You can't do anything about Jung-Hoo Lee, right? But even the Elliot Ramos conversation, right? Is that the left fielder of the future for the next 5 years? I don't know. You have your shortstop. You have your third baseman. The questions are, you have your first baseman DH with Devers. That second base, that right field, you really can't do much about center field, right? Jung-Hoo Lee has shown flashes. So that second base, that right field, left field, I think a conversation is had. Ramos probably deserves another year just because of how he was hitting. You can't move him to DH. You can't move him to first base. So he kind of has to stay in left field. And then the catcher position, what we talked about earlier in the week, that's where, I'm trusting Buster on this one. Do you think that Patrick Bailey should continue to just sit there with absolutely no competition, right? The Adley Rushmans of the world, guys like that might be past competition, because you're sitting there and you're going to start Adley in that situation, I would assume, if you still even have Patrick Bailey on the roster, which is another question. But I have a weird feeling that the Giants are going to play pretty well after this thing is fully done. And Bob Melvin with the option already picked up, they're just going to go through the next year and say, hey, Bob, here you go. Now, there are literally no excuses for everybody out there that want to complain about the roster. There are no more excuses. Our pitching is where it needs to be. They go out, probably get another pitcher for that rotation, since Verlander that time will be done. And you give Bob that last year. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. Now, if they completely implode, obviously Bob Melvin is going to be gone. And I was talking to somebody pretty close to the situation. They think that it's already cooked, right? They think that Bob Melvin, Buster isn't going to do anything during the season, but Bob is probably on the way out. I'm still paused on that, even though this person does know their stuff. I'm paused on that. If they mess around and the games that don't matter, they go ahead and go 14-6, something like that, then I think Buster says, okay. And he's put in a tougher spot. So we'll see what happens with Bob Melvin. I think more than likely they'll move in a different direction, but we'll enjoy it. Trust me, we'll definitely enjoy it, but watch out for that 12-8, that 13-7, that 14-6. That might just give everyone a little bit of hope when the option's already picked up. Hey, let's go get a right fielder, second baseman, and see what we can do. One more segment with you. Let's discuss how the Giants farm system is on the uptick. Let's look towards the future. One more segment when we return. Locked On Giants. Do not move. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those alone saved me money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use Locked On MLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code Locked On MLB. Last segment with you on this Friday. I hope everybody is enjoying their Friday. And if you're listening to this over the weekend, I hope you're enjoying your weekend. I know somebody got paid out there. And let's get right on into, it's been a pretty optimistic show, right? I know we talked about Bob Melvin possibly losing his job, but besides that, it's been a pretty optimistic show, okay? And we're going to keep that rolling because MLB.com feels pretty good themselves about the Giants farm system. So let's break all that down and hang with me here. I'm going to round this whole thing out. So my producer, Kyle, on Sacktown Sports, 1140, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're interested in some Sacramento sports radio, I should say, brought this up to me, and it really made me think. The Brewers basically let Willy Adames walk, and they are, checks notes, the best team in baseball right now. The Red Sox, who were okay with trading Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants, have a top 5 record in baseball since the trade. Now, I said this on social media. Some people took it the wrong way. And I don't say this to say the trades were bad, okay? I say it because it illustrates to me how important your farm system is. And it's not just about having players that come up to be stars for you. It's all about them performing well on their way up in case you do want to make that trade for a win now piece if your timeline happens to change and you want to go for it, right? How many times have the Smurfs in LA, how many times have they been able to do that? How many times have they been able to go out and get a piece because their farm system is at the top? And going back to the moves for Devers and Willy Adames, yeah, obviously you're not going to find your whole lineup through the draft. Most people don't do that. Now, the Giants back in their heyday, they were really, really good at that. But the fact that the Giants kind of had to accelerate their process, and Buster Posey felt like they had to accelerate their process, speaks to how rough the Giants farm system actually was. So that is why I think it is so important for us to really focus on, and not us because we're not the GMs, but it's important for the Giants organization to focus on this farm system and get it in a good spot. And look, I don't like talking about Farhan Zaidi because he's gone now. And I do think people bring him up as a scapegoat a little bit too much. But there's one thing that we can probably all agree about. He left the farm system in shambles. He did. There's no denying that, okay? So with that being said, this is what MLB.com had to say, their write-up. The Giants system, the most improved system since their March rankings, okay? They did rankings in March. They're up 10 spots. From number 28, they're up to 18, all right? The Giants, they say, are loaded with young talent and poised to continue to climb. Eldridge is raking in AAA at age 20, but many of their best prospects have starred in rookie ball all this year, including shortstops Josuar Gonzalez, Johnny Level, and right-handed pitchers Argenis Kayama, Kiner Martinez, and Alberto LaRoche. Outfielders are becoming a strength of the system as well, led by Bo Davidson, who was signed as a non-drafted free agent, which is a crazy get, and Dakota Jordan. I was so juiced when the Giants drafted Dakota Jordan, and I'm just looking at these guys. They're essentially the same age, and Bo Davidson and Dakota, one's a lefty batter, one's a righty batter. This could be the future. Now, I know it's not the immediate future, but this could be the future. So I also broke down where the Giants fall, the guys that they brought up, where they fall as far as the Giants prospect list. Eldridge is obviously number 1 in the system. Josuar Gonzalez is number 2. Johnny Level is number 4. Bo Davidson is number 5. And Dakota Jordan is number 6. Okay. Now, let me be clear. We're trying to be optimistic here today. Obviously, all these guys aren't going to be hits, right? or the Giants have just pulled off some of the best drafting we've seen in a very, very long time. But they're probably not all going to be hits, but it gives us as a fan base something to look forward to and gives us some hope for the future, specifically for Buster's tenure and this new regime's ability to identify, draft, and sign talent. But I know what you're thinking, okay, Alan? We're talking about 2029, 2030. We don't know where we're going to be at that time. Who is going to come up at the end of this year if they don't play well against the Rays, or they do play well against the Rays and they get beat down against the San Diego Padres and they get beat down against the Brewers and this thing is cooked? Who is it that we could see at the end of this season? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's Bryce Eldridge or bust to me. Maybe Jesus Rodriguez, but I doubt it. He came up not too long ago. Like I said, they've really only had him DHing so far when I've seen him in Sacramento. The Bryce Eldridge thing, I know people are on the fence on that one. Hey, should he come up and kind of join this mess, or should they keep it clean and just wait for next season and start him off that way? I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I tend to err on the side of let the kid get reps, right? Let the kid get reps. We know that there is a learning curve between AAA and the big leagues. We know that all too well. We've seen it with the Giants time and time again. Hello, Luis Matos. Hello, Marco Luciano. Hello to these guys. Now, to be fair, and I looked it up, Marco Luciano, a little over 100 at-bats in the bigs. Now, to be fair, I do think that you need consistency, right? You take away the pinch hits, you take away, hey, random series here, random series there. I'm not saying you can't continue to throw guys out if they're not performing well, but I do think that the Giants need to figure out what their process is. I would almost make the argument, and I guess counterpoint myself, if the Giants don't really have a plan for Bryce Eldridge and they just want him to come up and see some ABs, you could make the argument, all right, maybe just wait and take the offseason to come up with an actual plan. Because right now, okay, we're just going to sit Rafael Devers for a day, or he's going to come up as a DH for a random series. I guess I understand where people are coming from. I personally just seem to err on the side of just get big league at-bats when you can get them. So I understand the other side of it. That's really just because the Giants, throughout this season with the revolving door in right field and to a lesser degree second base up until Casey Schmidt kind of figured it out, the Giants, I'm not really sure what they wanted from some of these guys. You had Luis Matos up all season, and then you trade Yastrzemski and send Luis Matos. We haven't seen Luis Matos, I don't believe, since the trade. So I think, and I don't know if that's a Buster thing. I don't know if that's a Bob Melvin thing. So am I completely confident that the Giants will bring Bryce Eldridge up with a full-blown plan? Not at this moment in time. I would still probably say just get him up there so he can feel good about seeing some ABs. I think that being 20 years old also helps because they got short memories. I don't think his confidence will be shook. I've said the same thing. I've said different things about Tyler Fitzgerald, who, I mean, he saw the most success you could even think of. And I think he's just been in his head ever since then. I don't see that being the case either way with Bryce Eldridge, just based on how he carries himself, and not to say anything wrong with Tyler Fitzgerald, but being 20 years old, knowing how the process should work as long as they give him that information and that plan, I don't think that would be the case. It's been a great first week with y'all. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on social media as well. You see it in the corner I'm pointing the wrong way, @_Styles File, Styles with an I. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. Peace.